working today. I have a headache. Do you know, anyone else when they have a headache, does their brain just kind of like not work? Or is that just me? Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Georgia, I hope you're well. Today we are doing the mid-year like book tag that I've seen floating around on the internet at the moment. I have a series of questions all relating to the books I've read this year, my numbers, everything like that. What books I have been enjoying, what books I've not liked so much, exciting new releases and all that fun stuff. So I'm just gonna get straight in with the questions just because there is quite a few to work through. So I've got a pile of books next to me that I'm going to be talking about during this video and we're just gonna jump straight in. So the first question, if I'm looking at my phone a lot, it's because the questions are on here, so I'm just gonna work through them. I have also added a couple of my own, just more for me to sort of look back on at the end of the year just to see my progress sort of thing. So the first question is, how many books have I read so far this year? So my goal for this year was 40 books, and at the time of filming this, which is like just past halfway through the year, I have read 36 books. So I am well on way to hit my target. I literally have 4 books left, so I am feeling very good with that. I'm very happy with that. It's more than I did last year, because last year I read 48 books all year. So I feel like I'm going to be beating last year's target as well. I don't think I'm going to change my target either. I think I'm just going to leave it. So one of the questions that I want to add in is to do with my TBR. So one of my goals for this year was to like read as much of my physical TBR as I can. I've done a recount. So I now have 395 books and I've read 90 of them. So at the beginning of the year, I had 275 books and I'd read 65 of them, which was 24% of my TBR. Whereas now I've got 395 books, I've read 90 of them, which means I'm at 22.78% of my physical TBR. So my percentage has gone down, but I haven't like got over 100 new books. It's really bad, it's really bad. It'd round up to 23%, so I'm on 23% of my physical TBR. That needs to change. I have read like less than a quarter of my physical TBR. Another question that I'm going to add in just while I'm doing sort of like goals and things is I also did a 25 in 2025 this year. Now I have read, as we stand right now, 13 of those, so I'm on 13 of 25, which I am very proud of. I've done better than I thought, and that is only because I like noticed in June that I've really not touched any of it. I kind of forgot I'd done it, so then when I was choosing my June and my July TBRs, I was very like careful on picking ones that would also tick off books from there. So I'd gone from reading only like 7 of them to reading 13 of them. The next question on the like list of actual questions is my most read genre. Now if I were to guess, I would have absolutely said it was fantasy, but I then sat and worked it out. Romance is actually my most read genre of this year, which is like, now that I sit and think about it, it does make a lot of sense, but I think that's more just because like a lot of my romance books are really teeny, whereas my fantasy ones are a lot bigger, so I feel like it feels like I've read a lot more fantasy. But yeah, my most read genre is actually romance, which I'm quite surprised by. But not a bad thing. I do enjoy a good romance book. Okay, so the next question is, what's the best book you've read so far this year? Now I was sat looking through my Goodreads for ages because I found like I really struggled to answer this one. I don't feel like there's been one book in particular where I was just immediately like, that one. Which makes me feel like I've not had that 6-star feeling really this year, which is quite sad. I went into month 7 of 2025 and I've not had that oh my god book yet. Like don't get me wrong, I've had quite a lot of 5 stars and I've really enjoyed a lot of books, but I've not had that one that's like stood out above the rest. But then when I got to thinking about it, I would probably have to say Zodiac Academy. So this is book 3, so this is the one that I've enjoyed the most out of the 3 that I've read. But I would like to say sort of like Zodiac Academy as a whole, as I feel like the books that have stuck with me the most from the books that I've read this year. I've read the first 3 in the Zodiac Academy and I'm now moving on to Ruthless Boys, and I'm going to do the 5 books in the Ruthless Boys and then go back to Zodiac. But I would say that this is the series that's probably been like the one that stood out above the rest, so it's been like the one that's become sort of like my personality this year. Like whenever I'm talking about books, this series always comes up, so I do feel like this is definitely one that's stuck with me the most. So I would probably have to say the Zodiac series, but this is my favourite of the 3 that I've read so far. So I'm going to say this one. So best book of the year, I'm going to say Zodiac Academy, The Reckoning. But there has also been a lot of other 5-star books this year, so I'm going to say this is the one that stuck out the most. Now, the next question is the worst book that I've read so far in 2025. Now, I don't usually like to sit and slag off books, but I do have one in particular that sort of stood out. Like, all of my books this year have been good. I just didn't click with this one at all, and that's None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. So this, I think I rated a 2. I think in the video when I read it, I rated it 2.5, but the more I've sat on it, the more I've just been like, I really didn't like it. I read this book in a 24-hour reading challenge. I wanted to love it. Like, the setup for it's really interesting. It reads like a true crime documentary, but it just didn't click with me. I think this is a me problem though, not a problem with the book. I just fell out of love with thrillers, which I hate because it was like, thrillers used to be all I read. James Patterson was pretty much the only author I used to read from, so I loved a good thriller. I've just stopped caring for them, I think. I find them quite predictable, which it sounds really awful because like romances, you know that they're going to fall in love and it's going to be a happy ever after, and they're predictable, and a lot of fantasies, they are predictable, but thrillers, I want to be shocked, I want to be taken aback, and like I don't feel like I get that from thrillers anymore, so I don't know. I just didn't love this one, so I'm going to say this is probably the worst book I've read so far this year. So the best sequel I've read so far this year, I literally read this like last week, but I'm going to have to say Fearless by Lauren Roberts. I really enjoyed this book. I did annotate it as well. It was my most anticipated read for 2025, and this, I did do a reading vlog on it, so I'll link it up here for you. Yeah, this one is probably my favourite, like the best sequel so far. I've not really read a lot of series this year, or kind of continued with a lot of series. It is something I'm going to try and work on for the second half of the year, but this book was incredible. And it is also the last one in the trilogy as well. They are doing the novella though, but it's the last one out of like the main books. I think it wraps it all up really nicely. It was so interesting, there were so many twists and turns. Like, I was so shocked by how she wrapped up this story. There were definitely things I did not see coming at all. And I love Lauren Roberts' writing anyway, but this is definitely the best sequel I've read this year. I was mind blown by this book. It was incredible. So the next question is a new release that I haven't read yet, but I really want to read. And I'm going to say Julie Soto's Rose in Chains for this one. So this was actually a Fairy Loot book that I got and that I didn't know I would want, but then after reading like all the information about it, it sounds so interesting and I'm really excited for it. So this only actually came out on the 2nd of July, but it was the subscription box for June, so we got it a little bit early on Fairy Loot. It's also just stunning. Like, just look at that, how gorgeous is that? Is that not just so pretty? I am really looking forward to this one. It sounds so interesting, so I'll just read you a little bit about it. The war is over, the dark forces have won, and the hero who's supposed to save them is dead. After watching her brother die and her kingdom fall, Princess Bryony Rosewood is captured by the enemy, stripped of her magic, and auctioned off to the highest bidder. She's sold to, I want to say Tovin. It's either Tovin or Tovin, I don't know. I might say Tovin, I think that sounds prettier. She's sold to Tovin, her secret infatuation, but Bryony cannot submit to her feelings. A secret rebellion is brewing and she must escape to join it. Yet despite the horrors of her new world, help and hope can arise in the most unlikely of places. So it sounds so interesting. I'm really looking forward to this one. And again, like I said, it wasn't one that I'd really thought of or heard much about until it arrived at my door with the Fairy Loot, and then I started like looking into it, and now I'm really looking forward to getting into this book. I can't wait. Okay, the next question is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Now I actually have technically 3 I want to talk about, but at the same time 2 of them are technically already out. It's just that they're not out in the UK. So I could get them on Kindle Unlimited ages ago, but the physical books don't come out till the end of the year, and I wanted to wait until I got the physical book to read them. So the first one is Diabound by Sable Sorensen. So this book I've got pre-ordered on Waterstones. I'm really looking forward to that one, and I think the sprayed edges and things are gorgeous, and I've heard so many good things about that and it being like the new big fantasy of the year, so I'm really looking forward to reading that one. So that one comes out on the 26th of August. I'm also really looking forward to Fearful by Lauren Roberts, which is the novella to Fearless. Apparently that wraps up all the questions that we still have about Fearless, so I'm really looking forward to that one. That one comes out on the 2nd of September. And then I've mentioned this in a few videos, but I'm also really looking forward to Metal Slinger by, is it Rachel Schneider? And that one comes out on the 4th of September, so I've got like, it's literally within the space of like 9 days that all 3 of those books come out. So the end of August, beginning of September is going to be such an exciting time. And they're definitely the 3 that I'm most looking forward to for the rest of the year. I don't really know what else is coming out. I've got a couple of other pre-orders. Should I just tell you about my pre-orders? Let's have a look. I've got Love Arranged by Lauren Asher, which is book 3 in the Lakefront Billionaires series. So I've read book 1 and book 2. Book 2 was beginning of this year, and I really enjoyed those, so I'm looking forward to that. So Lauren Asher one comes out on the 19th of August. I also have Soul Searching by Lila Sage. Now I recently finished the Rebel Blue Ranch series, so I'm like really looking forward to my next little hit of Lila Sage. It's still like the romance small town vibe, but with like a supernatural element, which I think is going to be really exciting. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Lila Sage comes out on the 30th of September. And then I also have The Devil She Knows by Alexandria Belfieur. I don't know if I'm saying that right, I think I am. Which is like a sapphic rom-com-y type one, and that comes out on the 23rd of October. And then I also have Wildcard by Elsie Silver, which comes out on the 9th of September. So that's like the 4th one in the Rosehill series. So they're my pre-orders. Oh, and then also On Wings of Blood by Briar Berlin. And that one is the 19th of August as well. So I do have 8 pre-orders this year that I'm looking forward to, but I also have quite a bit of catching up to do. They're definitely the most anticipated reads. I only pre-order books if I'm genuinely excited about them, or I will just wait. But yeah, they're definitely the books I'm really looking forward to for the rest of 2025. But other than that, I don't really know what else is coming. Is there any other big like releases that I'm missing? Please let me know. So the next question is favourite new author. So this can be debut authors or authors that are just new to me. I have quite a few for this one because I feel like I've been reading a lot of new authors recently. Like, was it June where literally every book I read was a new author, which was really exciting. So I finally read some Ali Hazelwood. I really, really like her writing. I finally read some Abby Jimenez. Love that. Kaylee Smith. Love that. I really enjoyed Phantasma. Carissa Broadbent is another new one that I started reading from at the beginning of this year. So I read Serpent and the Wings of Night in like January of this year, and I am obsessed with her writing. I also obviously started the Zodiac Academy series, so Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. Really like those. Paisley Hope as well. Paisley Hope, I finally read a book by her and I really enjoyed that one. I'll talk about that in a minute. And also Liz Tom Ford. I've been flying through the Windy City series. I'm really, really enjoying her writing at the minute as well. So that's just like a few of the authors that I've read from this year for the first time and really, really enjoyed. Yeah, I'd say they're definitely in the top sort of like 5. I guess that's technically 6, but I kind of put the Zodiac Academy authors together. So, but they're probably like my top 5 so far this year that I've been really, really enjoying. The next one is my newest fictional crush. Now, I must admit, Gabriel Woolf, I think, is it right at the moment. So I read this at the beginning of July and I ate it up. It was really good. But this is a dark MC romance. Now I love an MC romance anyway because you've got that protective toucher and die vibe, which I always really, really enjoy. Now he is very unhinged. This is a dark romance, but he has to be my new fictional crush. There's just something about him. There's just something about him. I love an MC romance, so if it's an MC romance, I pretty much automatically fall in love. I've read Emily Catlow's MC series and I'm obsessed with all the main male characters in those, and then obviously Gabriel as well. They're all just that little bit unhinged, a little bit tapped, but will do anything. Like they will literally burn the world for their woman. Gabriel's no different. So newest fictional crush has to be Gabriel Woolf. Oh, the next one is a book that made you cry. Now I don't cry at books and I would have stood by that 100% up until this year. I had never cried at a book, and then I have a book here that I like got a bit like ooh at, and then I had a book that actually made me cry, and I've never had that before, so I'm gonna blame it on hormones and say that I was just due on. The first one is when I tandem read these books together. So I tandem read these in preparation for reading Fearless. The scene at the end got me. It got me this time, and when I read it the first time it didn't, and like I said, I didn't cry at this, but you just kind of like whew, and I'm in to just take a minute and have some deep breaths and then crack on again. I was like that at the end of these books. I'm not going to say what it was that made me cry because spoilers, but yeah, the ending of this had me choking up a little bit, I'm not going to lie. So that got me. A book that actually made me shed a tear. I was literally sat like, and I had to proper have a word with myself. I'm like, why are you crying? You don't cry at books, what is this? It was actually Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. It's not like something sad happens. These were happy, oh my god, this is so cute tears. And again, I don't do that. I don't cry at films, I don't cry at books, so I don't know what was going on that day. I was clearly having an emotional day. But yeah, the end of this book got me. I don't know if it was just like wrapping up the book, because it's not even in the main book. It was after the acknowledgements and everything, but there's a scene at the end that's the wedding for the couple in the first book in this series. So this just wrapped up the whole series perfectly, and it was so nice to get that glimpse of like all the couples, all the characters that we've grown so attached to throughout this entire series. Finally get that just last moment in this book, and yeah, I was actually crying. The next one is the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. I have 2 for this one because I couldn't decide. One of them is a Fairy Loot edition and one is one that I bought in New York. First off, the Fairy Loot, I have Broken Souls and Bones. Now this is by L.J. Andrews and it is just stunning. let's just give you a quick tour of my fairy loot. Like, it is just gorgeous. I do actually prefer the normal cover to the reversible, which is not normally like me. And then the naked hardcover. And finally the end pages. I just think this book is honestly gorgeous. And then the other one is one that I bought in New York, and that's The Night and the Moth. This book is so like dense, it's so heavy. So it's just like the normal cover, but then it's the US sprayed edges edition. But yeah, I just love the blue foiling and I love the sword. The end pages are just the same as the sprayed edges. I also love the naked hardback, like that is just stunning. Again, the blue foil, I just love it. It just looks so pretty without anything, like without the dust jacket as well. Okay, and then the next one is what book do I want to have read by the end of the year? Now there's one in particular that really stood out for me on this one because it's one that I honestly thought I'd have read by January and still haven't. That's Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. So I read Fourth Wing, and I want to say like June of 2024, and then didn't pick it back up again. And then I got James into reading, and then James decided that he wanted to read them. So then in January I reread Fourth Wing, and then we started Iron Flame, got to part 2 and just stopped reading it for some reason, and then neither of us picked it back up. And now I honestly thought I would have flown through both of those and then jumped straight into this one. I haven't touched it. I've still not started part 2 of Iron Flame. But this book is also on my 25 in 2025, so I really need to read this, which means I really need to read Iron Flame, which means me and James need to sit down and make a plan of when we're going to get these read, because I need to read it. The next one is 5-star predictions. So honestly, my 5-star predictions are Metal Slinger. I have such high hopes for that book. I really think I'm going to enjoy it. I've heard so many good things, and I've been feeling that piratey vibe. Like, I really want to read something piratey. So I really think that's going to be up there. I think the rest of the Windy City series is also going to be up there. I'm really enjoying those. So far, I've had a 4, a 5, 4.5, and a 4.75. So they're getting closer. I think I'm just getting more attached to those characters. So I'm really hoping that one of those books is going to be a 5-star for me. I'm also planning on starting the Throne of Glass series at some point this year, so I do think some of those are going to be 5 stars as well. I'm really hoping that my Zodiac Academy and the Ruthless Boys series continue to be 5s for me, because I've been really enjoying that series and I'm getting really attached to those characters. So I'm really hoping that when I move on to Ruthless that it stays at that sort of level of enjoyment for me. The Lady of Darkness series by Melissa K. Rorick. I am praying on those being 5 stars. I am so excited to read that series. So I'm really hoping that they live up to the expectation that I've got in my head. I'm going to leave it at that, but there's some 5-star predictions for this year. And then the last one is how many books do I think I'll have read by the end of 2025. So like I said at the beginning, my goal for this year was to read 40. I'm definitely going to hit that. Let's say 62 books. That's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to guess at 62 books by the end of 2025. I've got a lot going on for the rest of the year. I've got a lot of really, really exciting things happening. And I'm going to be a lot busier, so yeah. I'm going to stick with 62. 62 is my goal. I think, well, my goal is 40, but I'm gonna guess that by the end of the year it's going to be 62 books. So that is my 2025 sort of mid-year tag. I have high hopes for the rest of the year. Like I said, I've had a really good reading year so far. One bad book of the whole year isn't bad at all. I'll take that. I've read a lot more romance than I thought I had this year. I thought I'd read more fantasy than romance, but I am wrong. Which is weird, because majority of the books I've got sat here are actually fantasy, aren't they? There's literally two romances in all of this. I own a lot more fantasy than I do romance, so I really should start reading more fantasy, shouldn't I? We will come back at the end of the year and see if the things that I've predicted here are true for the end of the year. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, my social media, my Amazon wishlist, my Goodreads and my business email are all in the description bar below. How are you getting on with your 2025 goals, with your reading? What books are you enjoying? What books have you not enjoyed? Let me know. I just love knowing these things. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.